ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Starcastic Remarks, the only show that is both sarcastic and remarks simultaneously at the exact same time. I'm your host tonight, Christian, followed by my brother to, I guess, my left, James. Tonight, we do not have Ryan. He is in San Antonio for the state marching band contest because he's just a successful guy and takes people to successful places, so good for him. But we're going to go without him tonight. Anyway, without further ado, how's the week been, James?
It's been a week. I'm very close to the end of my online class that I've been working for like 5 months now. So I'm almost done with it. Just got to finish up some stuff. Got a last project to do and I'll be done with it. So
dang, another successful guy. We're just full of winners here. You know who's not winning? The Stars. Let's talk about it. Before we get to that, we're going to talk about some injuries updates real quick, just in case y'all haven't been on top of your Dallas Stars knowledge. So someone who's been out for a little while that y'all probably pretty aware of, Radek Fox has been out for, I think, 3 or 4 games now.
3, I think.
Yeah, but he was taken out surprisingly, like right before the start time of, looks like the Calgary game. Is that correct? Yeah, right before the Calgary game, he was taken out. Like literally 5 minutes before puck drop, it was announced by the team, which
I hope that's me lagging and not him, but we'll see. He'll catch back up.
has been fine, but also some. Hello,
Are you back?
I'm back, I guess.
Okay.
Where did I cut out?
At the very beginning, you said he got held out after the Calgary Flame, like just before the Calgary Flames game. So restart there.
And that's led to some exciting offense with Steele, Delandria, and Smith all being on the same line together. But it has, unfortunately led to some exciting defense as well, which is not good to have an exciting defense. Then the other guy who got hurt after a hit in the Canucks game, Duchesne, who had looked fantastic. That whole Sagan, Marchment, Duchesne line was really starting to get clicking. Marchment finally getting going, getting some goals in the back of the net. Duchesne had just gotten his first one pass, and it felt like the dam was breaking, and he was about to go off, and he gets really rocked in Vancouver. Honestly, it was a good, clean hit. It was, unfortunately, you're not
just never saw it coming.
You're not expecting a defenseman to step up on the blue line like that in today's NHL. That's a very 90s thing to do. And Duchesne was obviously not expecting it on that hit. But he's been out since then. But both are just listed as day-to-day. No one going on any kind of injury list. But it's really affected the Stars, obviously. Led to 2 losses in a row and only 2 goals, I believe, in the past 2 games. So that's really affected the Stars lineup.
And it was really tough because it came at a time when we were facing our hardest opponents too. And then we also faced the hardest goaltenders that we faced all season too. I mean, it's poor timing, but I mean, we still have the depth that we should have scored more than 2 goals.
Yeah. That's actually going to make me jump around a little bit.
And the other thing is that we only gave up 5 against the hottest offense in the NHL, and then a team that just is consistently scoring for some weird reason, even though they have 1 goal scorer on their team now.
Yep. And I'm glad you brought up how good the goaltending was on the past 2 teams. Going to jump ahead a little bit in our show. The goalies we faced, Demko shut us out. He's the 3rd best goalie in the league right now by both goals against average and save percentage. His goals against average is below 2 right now.
Yeah.
And Swayman, the backup goalie for the Bruins. I mean, he's a backup. How good can he be? He's the number 1 goalie in the league right now by a wide margin. And it's not like he hasn't played games. I think he's played 5 games. And he is far and away the number 1 goalie in the league, and he absolutely looked like it last night. 37 saves, I think, is what he finished with at last night's game. So, yeah, the offensive struggles, it's struggling. It can't, especially with how good our lineup is, even without Foxa and Duchesne in. It's still definitely good enough. It has to score more than 2 goals. But if you're going to get in an offensive slump like that, the 2 goalies that are going to make you do it is those 2.
And I feel like we kind of figured it out at the end of the Boston game. It was just too late. I mean, We saw and we figured out we can't score off the rush like we have been the whole season so far. And then late in the Bruins game, I mean, we were getting in front of the net. We had 2 tip goals past them. That was 2 goals we scored. So
yeah, so definitely we're allowed to be worried about the offense, I think, but you also have to acknowledge how good the opposing team's goaltending was. So you have to kind of take the combo there and kind of gauge which one is more important there, I think. I'm not worried about the long-term scoring ability of this hockey team. And looking at how good those goaltenders have been to start the year just kind of solidifies that more in my head. What do you think, James? Are you panicking a little bit more there, or are you kind of chalking it up to some goaltending too?
I was kind of panicking more at the beginning of the season, honestly, because like I said, we were only scoring on the rush. We were not scoring on the power play. We were not getting any tip goals. And over the past couple of games, our power play has looked really, really good at times. And there's been some absolute robberies on it for it to stay off the board. And then also we got those 2 tip goals, and it looks like we're starting to figure it out again. So it's still early season. We hit a roadblock of some really tough teams
some really hot goalies.
Yeah. And that made us have to score differently. And after 2 games, we figured it out. And some teams, it'll take longer than that. I mean, I feel like that's part of the reason why Buffalo goes in these long streaks and stuff, because they'll play all these teams. They'll be scoring, and then they run into some teams that make them have to score differently, and they
can't adjust.
Yeah, it takes a second, and I feel like that's a really good strength of the Stars team. It just that's what we were seeing at the end of the season the entire time. There was no adjustment needed. They were just scoring every way possible. So that once they get that back, which they've already shown that they're getting it back.
They're on the way. Yeah.
Then this team can really start rolling.
Yeah. And that's definitely true. I mean, I've been thinking about the first game against Seattle in the playoffs. Pavelski, he had 4 goals that game. He scored them every way. He got a deflection. He scored off the rush, and he scored just getting set up in the zone and taking a shot. I mean, and that perfectly proves your point, James, how the Stars have the ability to score in all those different ways. Even the first line shows that. I mean, Pavelski, the deflection expert, Rope, the off the rush guy, and Robertson, the guy who finds the correct ice when they're set up in the offensive zone. So fully agree with you there. And I think we are getting back to that too. It's just we started doing it at a bad time when we had both injuries and buzzsaw goaltending. Mm-hmm. No good segue. We're going to move on. The starts for the Stars especially. This is where I have less optimism than I do for the offense in general. The Stars in the first periods are 31st in goals for in the first period. 31st. They have 5 goals. They have allowed 11 in the first period.
Who are they better than?
Who are they better than? I honestly
probably
I haven't checked.
It's
probably the Sharks, if I had to guess.
That's not good.
That's not good. What the heck is the question?
What the heck is just the whole thing, honestly. I mean, it was a problem last season too. It was less severe. It has definitely gotten worse. But they gotta figure out how to. I don't know if wake up is the right word, but they got to figure out how to wake up for these games and be ready when the puck is dropped. Because I mean, we're getting destroyed by every team. And we have had times where like we play the first like 3 or 4 shifts and we look really good, and then just off a cliff, and the other team scores 2 goals, go back to the other way. I mean, there was and like I said, this was true last year too. We would start slow, and Otter would have to save our butts in the first period constantly, all the time. Yep. And he did it a lot. And we won a lot of games that way. We made it to the second period. We were like, okay, we just survived, and then we just went on a roll because we spent the next 40 minutes using the energy that we didn't use in the first 20.
Yep. The immediate thing that pops in my head, if I'm a viewer of this, I'm thinking, well, what about the Minutemen? I mean, the top line was renowned for scoring on their first shift of the game. My answer to that is that's kind of what masked how bad we were in first periods a lot of the times. I mean, definitely a talking point last season was how we didn't play complete 60-minute games. And most of the time it was the first period. And it was just hidden by the fact that the first line scored on the first shift of the game, which I'd love to get back to that because that hides a lot of
that solves your problems without
yeah.
having to solve it. But
exactly.
You have so if the first line isn't doing it, someone else has to do it, and no one else does.
Well, even more than that, I don't even think it's just get a goal. Like that's the easy short-term solution, I'd say, is to just score first. I mean, obviously that's a duh, but you want to impose your will early in the game and play your style of hockey and make them play to how you're playing.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is not a this year problem. This is a 3-year long problem. This is a problem since Bones was here. This was his biggest issue, I think, was not getting the team ready to play games. I think DeBoer has done a better job of it, but not this year. It's not been good.
Yeah, and I think some of that might come down to our power play so far this year. I mean, teams know if we're a little bit more aggressive, I mean, even if we take a penalty, probably not going to score on the power play. So I feel like if you have a lethal power play that makes the other team wary of it, it makes them play a little bit less aggressive. It gives us a chance to get in the first period. But I mean, with no threat of that at all right now, and us ourselves not having an aggressive first period normally, I mean, that is one thing that's like nice about not having very good first periods, that the other two are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, our second and third periods have been insane in most games, but if you lose it in the first, like we did in Boston or against Boston, then you're just never coming back, especially against a team that's primarily defensive.
Yeah, we're top 10 in offense in second periods. We have been fantastic in second periods offensively. That's the only period that we've done really well in. And I like your point on the power play. I mean, I was going to get into this separately as well, but like you've been saying, they all kind of meld together. The power play for the Stars has started off terribly, especially compared to last year. 26th. No, that's the offense. Where's the power play? Where'd it go?
It's worse than that.
There it is. 29th. There's the power play. 29th in the league on the power play. We talked about how it's getting better, but especially these last two games when we didn't allow very many goals, it has cost us big time. I mean, we've had power plays in key positions where we could get back into games or at least break the dam on someone like Demko, and
we just
come up with zeros.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that is just execution on it. I mean, we're getting our chances now. Before we were not, definitely not. I mean, but we're getting our chances now, and the shots are just not keen. I mean, they're in the right spots. We're getting chances right in the slot. I mean, Johnston was robbed on his, but we've had others where they're in great spots, and it's along the ice, hits him in the pad or hits him in the chest. You got to have some either faster passing or more accurate shots.
Yeah, that, and I agree with the faster passing. I talked a lot about at the after game review that I thought the passing was just terrible overall. I mean, defensive zone, absolutely, but even in the offensive zone, the passing wasn't very good. The other thing I think you need to get more to is what you did at the end of last game, is the deflections. I mean, there was a point in the season last year, all of our power play goals were on deflections every single time. I mean, and we haven't really seen a lot of that on the power play so far this season. We've seen a lot of really good, I mean, especially the past two games, a lot of great chances from the slot, and that's great. I mean, we want to see that. That should open up the chances from the point and to get deflections. But I feel like we need to go back there and take those wrist shots around the first guy and give Ben or Pavelski a chance to deflect it in more often.
Or even get a rebound chance on it too.
I mean, if you're
standing in front, hits the goaltender, sure, he's in good position, but if the puck bounces straight to you, what's the point? I mean, slam in the back of the net.
Which is something we've done poorly this year. I can think of the one, I think it was the Duchesne goal. It was his only goal that he got off of a deflection that Suter shot off the goalie's chest. But other than that, there's not been those greasy, crappy goals that you get every once in a while. There's not been jamming one into the net very often. especially when you're in a goal drought like the Stars are in right now, that's kind of the stuff you need to go for a little bit more, is to be a little bit nasty around the crease, make the other team's defenders push you out after the whistle blows, stuff like that. I think we need to see a little bit more from the offensive well. But overall, my kind of take for the offense is just get them to go in any way you can right now, because like
they're trying too hard. It is not that hard to score a goal in the National Hockey League. It really isn't. I mean, they're trying to make these crazy long passes and get these ridiculous chances that you might get like 2 or 3 of a night, when a lot of teams will just sit in front of the net, fire some pucks at the goaltender. If he can't see it and it goes in, great. Otherwise, he's in the way. It hits off him. You get it back, win it back, shoot it on net, pass it to someone on the point, try again. I mean, it really feels like they're trying to be a little bit too fancy right now.
And you especially need to get away from the fanciness when you're having the troubles that we are right now. Once you get the goals coming and you get the confidence back and the juju starts rolling, you could start making those great tic-tac-toe passes that we saw a ton of last season, or the crazy short, quick passes that the first line can make behind the icing line right to in front of the net. And more of that'll come, but I think to get to there, especially when you have injuries and you're facing some crazy good goaltending, get scrappy, get dirty. So definitely agree with you there.
And that's why the fourth line looks so good.
I think
that is exactly why the fourth line looks so good in the past 2 games, because they were scrappy, and it was the only way that it was getting in the goaltender's head. It's right in front of them, getting in their face all the time.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, so a lot of negatives about the offense, especially. Let's talk about some good stuff. The Stars are still number 2 in their division. They're behind 1 point by Colorado. I think that's as of tonight. I think Colorado won their game, which puts them 1 point ahead. The Stars have still been winning games. We've lost, what is that, 4 games now? 3 games?
I think it's 3. It
sorry,
might be 4.
I don't have that pulled
it's
up.
4.
It is 4. We have 3 losses, 1 in overtime to Vegas early on. And if you think about it, 3 of those losses are to teams that are fantastic right now: Vegas, Vancouver, and Boston. I mean, right now, Vegas.
2 of those games we had a real good chance to win.
And I think most of the games we had a good chance to win. The Boston and the Canucks game, I just told you about the goalies. They are literally on fire right now. Vegas, same kind of thing. Their goalie was fantastic that night, and that was obviously just a different type of game. That was just a full-on toss-up. Toronto, I feel like you should get them, but they get a little bit of credit just because they are Toronto and they have such good players, even though they're not playing great so far. But even if you don't count Toronto, 3 of the 4 teams you've lost to have been really good teams. And if you had to pick losses, those are probably the 4 that you would pick. So they haven't been that bad. So what are they really doing well? The thing that I picked out overall was goaltending. Jake Ottinger's save percentage, 7th best in the league. Goals against average, also 7th best in the league. Save percentage, .933, and a goals against average of 2.11. He has been fantastic and consistently fantastic, and especially has been holding us in on those first periods. I say we gave up 11 goals in the first period. Honestly, not a ton for how bad the Stars have played in first periods, I feel like.
Yeah, that's probably true. I don't really have that much else to say about it.
Any other good things that you've seen from the Stars? Why are we still good? I mean,
because we were scoring on the rush. I mean, that's really what it was. We were scoring on transition. And the big thing that was glaring the first couple of games was those turnovers on the offensive blue line. And those are basically gone now. I mean, we see some rush chances sometimes, but compared to what we saw the first 3 or 4 games, there's nothing.
Yeah, the turnovers in the early on in the season were definitely fixed. That's a very good thing to point out, I think. One happened in the past 3 games. I can't remember which game it was. We had, I think, 1 offensive turnover on the blue line in the offensive zone, and it turned into a goal.
Yeah, it was the Boston game.
That was the Boston game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so we've definitely gotten away from that, but it's just so dangerous in this NHL with how quickly people can turn defense into offense. You just really have to look out for it. And like you said, the Stars definitely have got that at least a little bit fixed. Another fantastic thing that the Stars are doing really well, thanks Ardell, the penalty kill has been absolutely fantastic. It is number 2 in the league. 92.5% on the penalty kill. They have been absolutely fantastic.
And that's kind of what masks our power play right now. We're not as worried about the power play because our penalty kill is just stopping everything anyway.
Definitely agree. Penalty kill, you've got to get a lot of credit to some people that Stars fans don't like very much, but these are the guys that go out there every time there's a penalty kill. Hockenpah and Suter and Lindell have been very good on the penalty kill so far this season. Honestly, I think Suter especially has improved so much from last year's penalty killing. He has been really good all year long, much more quiet, which is the way that we want Suter to be. And those three guys on the penalty kill specifically have been great.
What he doesn't do this year that he would try last year is that he doesn't go for the puck as much, which is great. I love that. He plays most of the time. He is the defenseman that is right in front of the net. That's getting the rebound chances off of Otter, and that's stopping the pass straight to the man right in front. I mean, that's exactly the kind of stuff that we really need on the penalty kill, especially when you have a goaltender like Otter and net. Don't let the stuff go across the center of the ice. Don't let him shoot it from the slot. And that's why the penalty kill has been as good as it has been.
Yep. And like you always say, Suter's at his best when he's not touching the puck. And he's been very good at it.
He's amazing when he's not playing the puck. He really is.
He has. Any other Star stuff that you got, James, that you want to talk about before we move on to some NHL news here?
Just bring up Wyatt Johnson real quick. Wyatt Johnson is in his second year of the NHL, where most players would normally slow down, and he looks amazing, man. And he honestly should have more points than he does. He's been robbed at least 3 times by 3 separate goaltenders, like absolutely robbed. Not good shots, not on the ice or anything, like good shots, and the goaltenders just made an absolutely ridiculous save.
Yep.
But he has 8 points through 11 games, 4 goals, 4 assists. Yep. That's pretty incredible for someone who's basically on the third line.
Yeah, he absolutely has been fantastic. He's probably the player who played the best in the past 2 losses. Like over the 2 games, he was the best, I think. And he's been consistently good all year and much more aggressive. We've talked about this in the after game reviews. He is like taking the puck to the net himself. He is kind of taking some kind of crazy shots, but like if you're a goal scorer, I mean, I am fine with you taking some crazy shots every once in a while. I'd rather you shoot more than shoot less.
And that aggressive nature has popped up. He's gotten some more penalties. They weren't penalties. He's just fighting harder, and they look like penalties. It happens. I think those will mostly go away as the season goes along too, just because the refs also kind of have to get used to how the game is flowing too. You see early on, they call not great calls a lot of the time. That's proven in the Canucks game, I think. But he's looked amazing. And really almost all the penalties that he's taken, I think, could be argued that they were not penalties at all.
Yeah, he weirdly has gotten multiple really bad calls against him.
Yeah. 5 minor penalties against him, and I feel like at least 4 of those shouldn't count.
Yeah, he's definitely had the refs on his butt. One other thing I forgot to mention earlier on, we talked about those injuries to Fox and Duchesne. You might be wondering why we don't call up some of our amazing AHL guys. I mean, we've got Maverick Bourque in the AHL and Logan Stankoven, who have both been just tearing it up and doing it together, by the way. They've been playing on the same line.
That's what Stankoven does, man. I'm telling you, that dude's
incredible
great.
chemistry. They both are like at 1.3, 1.4 points per game right now. And they're making the Texas Stars an incredible AHL team. But why can't we call them up? The answer is just the salary cap. When you call someone up, you have to pay them the league minimum, which I think is either $750 or it might be $775 now.
I think
$775 now. And the Stars have not enough cap space. So if we wanted to call someone up, we would have to put either Foxa or Duchesne on the injured list, which I think the minimum to be on that list is you have to be on for 2 weeks. I think
it's longer than that too.
Longer than 2 weeks?
It might be. I think it has to be longer if you are going to get the cap benefit from it.
That might be true. Yeah. But either way, you don't get the cap benefit unless they're hurt for an extended period of time. And both of these guys they're thinking are going to be back pretty soon.
I mean, they thought Duchesne was going to be back in the same game.
They did. They made that call. I said he would be back in the same game, and he didn't even come out for the next game, which is kind of interesting.
Very concerning.
Yeah, especially with like the nature of the hit. He did get some stuff up high for sure. Hopefully, it wasn't a bad enough concussion to keep him out for multiple games. That could cause problems for the rest of the year. Honestly, it really could. But just wanted to mention that because I know we've gassed both Bork and Stankoven up. Thought we'd at least mention why they're not being able to be called up right now. It's just numbers things. Lots of weird stuff that happens with the cap space. But yeah, moving on to some NHL stuff. Just want to do a quick overview of the standings because there has been some interesting stuff going on. Some stuff that is definitely expected and some stuff that was absolutely not expected. I think we started right here in our own conference. Not much too unexpected. Your top two teams, Colorado and Dallas. Everyone figured that. The Jets are doing pretty well, 6-4-2. Some people guessed that. Doing all right with their little bit of shakiness. The one that is definitely way overperforming, Arizona Coyotes have a positive record right now, 6-5-1, and have looked like a pretty good hockey team. They've been playing the same way that they were last year, except they're getting more goals.
Yeah,
they're actually having a little bit of skill,
and their defense looks better too, honestly. But it's that they're definitely not the same team that we beat 4 times last year. I feel like that's going to be a lot harder to do this year.
Yes.
They just have their young talent is on the roster now. I mean, they talked about it a lot last year during their games because that's what you talk about when you're going through a rebuild. You talk about the people coming, not the people who are here doing nothing. But they have a lot of people on the ice now, and they have some veterans on the ice that are actually scoring some goals too. So they look really, really solid. They've been even most of the year. So this isn't just like they're on a streak. They've been right there pretty much all season long. And if Minnesota keeps kind of and Blues keep kind of I mean, they can fight for a wild card spot. I mean, they really can.
It doesn't feel like they're doing it in unsustainable ways either, though. There was, Seattle last year, it felt like remember at the beginning of last season, they were at the top of their division. And I was saying there's no way it's sustainable. They were scoring like 8 goals a night and winning games 8-6 just multiple times. Arizona's not doing that. They're just winning good hockey games. And I think they're just playing the way that they did last year. They're just more experienced and are able to get those goals to go in, able to defend a little bit better, like you're saying, and got a little bit better goaltending. I mean, last year we were impressed pretty much every time we played Arizona. Everyone talked, it's a terrible hockey team. They were at the bottom for 3 years in a row, but they always played hard. They never gave up the way some other team that we're about to talk to has. And yeah, I think this is fully sustainable. I think we're safe to say Arizona's back. They can play.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The division kind of rounds out the way you think it does. Maybe Minnesota's a little bit lower than you thought. Honestly, not really, in my opinion. I kind of thought they might drop a little bit.
It's
but
tough.
Then it rounds out with Blues, Nashville, Chicago, just like you'd think. Bedard was not enough to make the Blackhawks a playoff contender, despite what all of their fans
But
thought.
he does score when the team lets in 8 goals. So he's the only one to score.
He has been good. It's not like Bedard's been bad, but everyone was saying that they were going to be a playoff team after getting him, which obviously insanity.
There's just too many holes in that team right now.
Way too many holes in that team. Vegas, fantastic. Probably one of the better starts after winning the Cup we've ever seen. They're 11-1-1 right now, keeping pace with the Bruins, who are also picking up right where they left off at the end of last year. They have looked unstoppable. The only team that I've seen them play a good game against was Dallas. I didn't see their 2 losses, honestly. You able to pull up that score for me, James, to see what their regulation loss was? Because I honestly am. Yeah. I want to know who it was. Vancouver has been fantastic, obviously. Big thanks to Demko. Like I said, number 3 goalie in the league right now. He's been absolutely fantastic. And you saw how aggressive their team played against us the other night. really aggressive forecheck, really lockdown defense. I feel like too. Demko wasn't super challenged in that shutout game, so they've been great. And if you look at their lineup, it's not changed that much from last year, but the lineup looks great. It's like, how were they that bad last year is really what I end up thinking with this team.
The Golden Knights, right? The Golden Knights' one regulation loss was their last game, and they played the Ducks, and their overtime loss was to the Blackhawks. So
yeah, so that just
some anomalies there.
so then, yeah, my point stands. The team that played them best probably was Dallas. The other two, the Knights probably just lost to the Knights, pretty much.
I mean, the Ducks look pretty good this year, but still, yeah, they should have been able to handle them pretty easily.
The Ducks do look better. That'll be my next point. I made my call last preseason too early. I was one season too early. The Ducks are finally there. Troy Terry, Zegras, they have looked fantastic. A little bit better defending we're getting from the Ducks, younger defensemen, and a little bit of goaltending as well. They're 7-5-0 right now.
Yeah, and they're the one team that has a win over Vegas and the Bruins. I mean, they won in overtime against the Bruins, and they won in regulation against Vegas. They're showing up for big games, and they're trying to make a statement. I mean, they really
have, for sure. And they have it was kind of just a matter of time until Anaheim figured it out. And now that they have finally started winning, I think it's time for them to start like pulling in those pieces like the Stars have this year, you know. Get the depth guy on the third line to give you a little bit backup scoring. Get some more defensemen that can really give you the defensive depth. Because they've got the core for sure. Their core is locked down. They've signed them to long contracts, and it's time for the Ducks to fly. Oh yeah, that was great.
I'm not gonna say anything after that. You can lay in that grave by yourself.
All right, the most fun thing to talk about at the bottom of the Pacific Division, the Edmonton Oilers, who probably were still Cup favorites for a lot of people. Maybe not the most popular Cup favorite, but probably selected by a couple people. They are 2-8-1 right now with the two best players in hockey, Draisaitl and McDavid.
Yeah, and I mean they've been Draisaitl and McDavid's these kind of McDavid. He got hurt, and it really looks like he's playing hurt right now, because through 9 games he's still over a point per game, but he only has 2 goals. Yep. 2 goals through 9 games for McDavid, who scored 60 last season. Is that there's something wrong. And even Draisaitl is like, he's played 11 games, 5 goals, 9 assists. I mean, they are good numbers. Don't get me wrong. They're great numbers. But there's something wrong over there. And I really don't think that it's just the defense or goaltending anymore. I mean, that's obviously the main component, but the whole team is in a slump now. And I don't know what's going to be able to pull them out of it.
Yeah, the defense and goaltending probably cost them a couple of games early on, but now, like you said, it's the whole team. It's all gone in the crapper at this point.
Yeah, and there was some video that I watched, like, exploring how it really feels more like their defense rather than their goaltending. They're playing a zone defense now. They're playing a box plus one is basically what it is, where they have 4 players that are shifting around, 1 player that's like moves to wherever, right? And it really looks, the style works. It's used by a lot of teams, but they are butchering the system like crazy. I mean, when they need to, how teams score against the defense is they pass it around and create gaps and make them have to switch positions, which is tough, but like they are consistently messing it up and creating holes in their defense, and the other team's getting easy passes across and dunks into empty nets. I mean, the goaltender can't save those.
So it's truly just positioning within that box system that they've been screwing up?
I think it's not knowing how to transition between them.
Gotcha.
Like how to switch players.
Yeah. You want to know a team that doesn't know how to do anything? San Jose has been the most embarrassing. I'm not even going to say hockey team. The most embarrassing professional sports team in North America right now. They lost 2 games in a row. They gave up 10 goals one game and 8 goals the other game. Is that correct?
Oh, no, they gave up 10 goals in 2 games straight.
Which 10 goals in 2 games straight.
Hasn't happened since like 1960s.
Yeah. So that's just utterly embarrassing. They do finally get their first win of the season.
Oh boy, it was a
riveting
game. It really was, though. I mean, they didn't play great, but their goaltender stood on his head, and they took lots of penalties.
What was the final score there?
It was 2-1.
And the shot totals?
I think it was like almost 40 to like 19.
Yeah.
They had 19.
The other team. Yeah, the Sharks had 19, just so y'all are all aware. And we are about to have the battle of the month. This is game of the month. Chris is claiming it right now. Edmonton Oilers versus San Jose Sharks tomorrow. Everybody tune into this one. It's going to be a slugfest of giants.
Yeah. Either there's going to be a lot of goals or there's going to be none. And if there's none, it's going to be more concerning for the Edmonton Oilers. But if there's a lot of goals, the Oilers still will probably lose.
Yeah. And honestly, I know this is so early, but like, this is a turning point in Edmonton's season. I mean, if you lose this game,
their last 5 games have been a turning point.
Yes, but like, this is like, okay, we're playing the worst team. Yeah. It's time to turn around, start playing like Edmonton Oilers, start playing like we have McDavid and Draisaitl on our team, and get back into at least the bubble where we're supposed to be. And if you lose this game, like, what hope do you have? You lost to probably the worst team we've seen in the past 50 years. That would be incredibly devastating to the entirety of Edmonton. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you would recover from that.
It's been really tough. Part of what Edmonton has had to deal with stuff they had to deal with the Canucks right out of the gate. And the Canucks just decided that they were going to try to win the season.
In one game.
Yeah. So they got absolutely slapped in the face, and then they got to play them again in the next game. And then they got slapped in the face again. So, like, it's been rough from the get-go. That has to be like demoralizing instantly. And they haven't recovered. I mean, they just haven't.
And they had a Heritage Classic really early in the year, which, I mean, that's got to be at least kind of weird.
They won that game.
That was one
of the 2 games that they won.
But still, it kind of screws your schedule, I think, a little bit. It just adds to kind of the weirdness that they've had. But yeah, that's just, I mean, the Pacific.
The Edmonton Oilers, they're not just almost last in the Pacific. They are the 31st team in points and points percentage. Yeah, they're only better than the San Jose Sharks.
Than the Sharks.
And if they lose to the Sharks,
they'll be worse.
They're the worst team in the league.
Yeah, that's what tomorrow is for. Tomorrow is to see who's the bottom feeder in the NHL. Tune in your televisions. We don't get the channel, I promise. Good luck finding it. Moving on, the Eastern Conference, surprising absolutely nobody. Boston Bruins, top of this conference. What does surprise us a little bit, they're doing the exact same thing they were doing last year. 10-1-1. And to put this into perspective, this is actually a little bit worse than they were last year. So they're actually a little bit behind the 8 ball here. But, I mean, how do you come back from a first-round exit losing 2 of your better players,
3 centers,
and nothing happened? They're still fantastic.
Well, what happened is their rookie came in and just decided that he was the replacement. I mean, I don't know what to say. He's been ridiculous. Let me pull up the stats, actually, because that's honestly the main thing about why they have been so good. Because their rookie just came in and decided, I'm just going to score a bunch of goals. Zacha, through 12 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. I mean, that is someone who was not on the team last year.
Who nobody knows the name of. I didn't even know his name. And he's been absolutely
I didn't know he existed.
For them. Yeah. And he's come out of nowhere and has been great for them. Just like Boston needed. They needed somebody like that, I mean, they've had a rough time. So
and he plays almost 20 minutes a night
as a rookie.
That's a rookie.
He's played 12 games. He's playing 20 minutes a night.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Yeah, sure.
I love that.
Tampa's number 2 still there. Florida doing pretty much what you'd think Florida would do. Not world beaters, but doing very well. Red Wings is hanging around on the bubble there. 7-5-1. Big jump for them.
Really fast.
They've done very well. I mean, Red Wings and Arizona, I kind of feel like are the same team in different conferences. They've been struggling for a long time, and it finally feels like their young guys are coming together, and you can see the team forming right now. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see if they keep this going throughout the entirety of the year, but you at least see the bare bones.
Yeah, and you really saw them form after their fast start ended. I mean, they started really, really hot, and then they lost a couple of games in a row, and now the last couple of games that they've won have been really tough games to win, and they've had comeback games where they've been down like 3-4 goals. They just roar back in the third, score a bajillion goals before the game ends and win.
And that's why I'm saying it gives me a similar feeling to Arizona. They don't feel like flukes. I mean, these teams are finding ways to win hockey games. They're like you said, they're toughing it out to get these wins too. So very interesting to see what happens with Detroit and Arizona as the season continues. Toronto, you love to see it fifth in the Atlantic.
That's what I call the Oilers, but they have goaltending.
There you go. They have some goaltending, so they get to win a couple more games. They're still above 500, but they're in probably the toughest division in the league.
It's a tough division, and only their top 4 guys are scoring, which, I mean, tough crap. That's what you get when you pay all those guys that much money.
Yep, that's true. Buffalo, they've been supposed to get it together forever. Still 6th. There's 500 though, but like we said,
if you could take 7 from one division, the Atlantic would be the first team to do it. I mean, the Atlantic it's a crazy division right now, man. It feels like none of them want to lose, and they have to lose. I mean, they're all playing each other.
Yep. And then the Senators, same kind of thing, but a little bit worse than Buffalo.
They've had some injury issues.
They've had some injuries, but again, everyone's saying this is the year they're finally going to do it, and they can't get over the hurdle. It feels like,
and I don't know how much of it is really their fault. I mean, that division is absolutely stacked. I mean, when you're talking about Toronto, it's getting 5th in the division. That is a little bit ridiculous.
On to the Metropolitan. New York, very high expectations coming into this year. Expectations met, 9-2-1 to start the season, and they've looked extremely good.
Mm-hmm. No, there's not really much else to say about it. I mean, I think that they kind of just messed up their chemistry by adding so much at the deadline last year. It really felt like that team did not click in playoffs. And Shesterkin looked frustrated, obviously, visibly. I mean, he was yelling at the team at one point, but they've started off really, really well.
Yep, and Shesterkin's doing pretty good.
And he didn't play last game either. I mean, they didn't even have him on the bench. They said, "Dude, go home."
Yeah. Honestly, if you got 3 goalies, that's a great idea. I mean, you want to rest your guy, don't even put him on the bench. Shesterkin, 913 save percentage and a 236 goals against average to start the season. So pretty good for him. That's where you expect a top tier goalie like him to be hanging around. So definitely part of their good start. Carolina started the season a little bit slow, and they've definitely figured their way, figured their path out. They're back to 2nd in the division, 8-5-0.
And it's still that scoring for them. I mean, that's going to be their story till the team finally falls off. I mean, they just do not have the goal scoring. What they have is defense and goaltending. They have some of the best defense and some of the best goaltending, and that's how they're going to win games.
And best forechecking too, and that's generally the only way they score is off their forecheck too. New Jersey doing what I expected more of last season. I mean, last season, you remember they had the incredible start. They started hotter than Boston last year, which is insane to think about after the season that Boston had. But 7-4-1, that's kind of where I think that's like a steady spot for New Jersey to be at, I feel like.
And what's kind of scary for that fan base right now is that Jack Hughes has some injury problems early in the season, and he's looked ridiculous early in the season too. I mean, it's just, can he stay healthy? Can he nurse that and keep playing? Really.
He was leading the league in scoring at one point, I think. Is he still?
I have no clue.
Let me take a look at that real quick. I think I can pull that up kind of quickly if I kind of talk over it a little bit.
I
No,
got
he's
it.
not. He's dropped down to
third now.
fourth. I see him as fourth. Oh, he's tied for third.
He's tied for third.
Tied for third with Panarin. And Pedersen above him, and Kucherov actually in first. Man, it's like it's 4 years ago. That's crazy. But anyway, yeah, New Jersey's doing about where I figured they'd be at. Columbus can't figure it out. I mean, they've got those good players that they signed. They got Line, they got
and they're
Gaudreau,
players those players that they got look good. I mean, they're scoring. It's just not coming together.
Not coming together. Philadelphia started off kind of hot.
They started off very hot. And what did I say?
They dropped off.
They're going to drop off, and there they go.
That's exactly what happened.
I mean, first team to lose to the Sharks. Woo!
Congrats, Philadelphia. And then Pittsburgh, surprisingly bad. We thought they'd be worse.
Awful.
They are bad. They've started to be a little bit better because they were much worse than this. They're 5-6-0 right now. I believe at one point they were
1-4, I think.
I thought they were 1-4 or something like that.
Yeah, and they won a couple of games and then they started losing again. So what's weird is that their goal differential is really skewed now because they played the Sharks. Isn't that great for them? And they scored 10 goals, so they have a +7 goal differential for one game.
Yeah, so kind of shocking there. It'd be weird to see Crosby just kind of fizzle into the distance if his team isn't any good.
It's looking like that's going to happen, and it's kind of happening with Ovechkin too. I mean, both those players, it's just like their teams held on to them for so long, and they held on to all the players around them for so long, and they're fizzling.
Kind of an interesting question. In the modern NHL, could you see a trade deadline move of Ovechkin or Crosby if these teams are fully selling?
It's not going to happen.
I don't think so, but Wayne Gretzky got traded. You got to remember stuff like that. Anyone can be traded in the National Hockey League.
After you get traded once, though, it's really easy to get traded again.
That is definitely true. So there's your quick rundown of the NHL, all the haps, what's going on. Stars are still decent. The Eastern Conference is still crazy, way better than the Western Conference.
Ridiculously so.
And yet, I'm sure the Western Conference will beat them in the Stanley Cup Finals once again. Anything else that you got hockey-wise for us tonight, James?
I think that's it.
Well, moving on to Who Cares, right? Why don't you announce it since you had the great idea?
Okay, so the Who Cares segment is it's sides from fast food places. Specifically sides, no like entrees or anything like that. Just the sides.
All right.
Chris,
James, number third.
Oh, my number third.
I said it louder, so it's you.
Oh, okay. My number third, I'm going to go with onion rings from Sonic.
Onion rings from Sonic.
I really like onion rings. Sonic, I mean, depends on where you go because some Sonics don't like to change their oil as frequently as they should, and they get weird aftertaste sometimes. But if you find a good Sonic, I mean, their onion rings are amazing.
Yeah, I've had too many bad experiences at Sonic. So if I ever go to Sonic, I'm only getting a chili cheese coney, which is probably the worst thing to get if I've had bad experiences. But you know what? Whatever.
If you're gonna gamble.
If I'm gonna gamble, I'm gonna go all the way. Is all I'm gonna say. I'm not putting $2 down on black. I'm putting all 1,000. Anyway, my number third, we're going to Popeyes, and we're going with a weird one right off the bat. The Popeyes red beans and rice.
Okay.
Delicious. I love Cajun food. Cajun food is probably like my favorite style of food. And this is like kind of Cajun food, and it's very good. I love it. It is fantastic. Get you some Popeyes in your face.
All right, my number second is it's Jalitos from Dairy Queen. And I found out last year, Jalitos do not exist in Florida. Dairy Queen does. Jalitos do not. It's very, very sad. I had to get cheese curds instead, which is, it's okay. You know, I like cheese. Fried cheese is good, but it's not Jalitos.
It's not Jalitos. It's not the same. All right, my number second. This is going This is honestly, this is the incorrect opinion. I mean, this opinion is wrong. But I stand by it anyway because I like what I like. We are going with curly fries, but not Arby's. Jack in the Box curly fries.
Oh, no, I knew that was coming.
I love Jack in the Box curly fries. I love Jack in the Box. I mean, I like terrible fast food.
It's such a weird fast food place.
If I'm getting fast food, I get the worst of the worst. I'm going to Jack in the Box, and I'm going to Taco Bell, and I'm going to McDonald's. I'm getting the dumpster, and I love it. I love just being a filter feeder down at the bottom of the ocean, scraping up everybody's garbage and scooping it into my mouth for $4. That's what I love. I love that. Give me the Jack in the Box curly fries in my face right now. James, you're number first.
Okay, my number first. It makes my mouth water just thinking about it. I'm not gonna lie. It is mac and cheese from Golden Chick. Golden Chick's mac and cheese. I don't know if you've had it anytime recently, but it is so good. It's so creamy. It's the best thing ever. I will go to Golden Chick and just get their mac and cheese because I don't like getting like fried chicken all that much, honestly. Like it's like chicken's good, right? Don't get me wrong. But I'd rather have the mac and cheese. So
we are in for a massive debate right now. My number one, the mac and cheese from Chick-fil-A.
You're wrong.
The mac and cheese from Chick-fil-A is absolutely 127 million %.
When was the last time you had the Golden Chick mac and cheese?
I had the Golden Chick mac and cheese 2 months ago, I think.
Not recent enough, Chris.
Not recent enough? They changed their mac and cheese recipe?
No, they didn't change it. It's just that good.
What I remember is basically like a Stouffer's pan mac and cheese. You get it's definitely creamy, but there's like a little bit of like, I don't know, milliness in the Golden Chick mac and cheese.
I don't get that at all.
The Chick-fil-A mac and cheese, not only is it velvety, smooth perfection, it also has your little crispy cheese top on every single one. How do they do that? That comes from the casserole being under in the broiler. You're not putting these little cups in the broiler. How are you getting a crispy top on every single cup of mac and cheese? It is absolutely fantastic. And the biggest, most delicious fast food, I guess we'll say, hack, if we want to go back to 2007, you get your nuggies. You get the large. They have two sizes. They have a large mac and cheese from Chick-fil-A. It is a bowl. It is massive. And you pour your 8-piece nuggies right on top of your mac and cheese. You get the sweet and spicy sriracha sauce that I have a bottle of in my fridge right now. You pour that on top. Oh my goodness. The most delicious mac and cheese bowl you'll ever have in your entire life. I'm glad we agree that mac and cheese is the best fast food side, though. If we can't agree on where, mac and cheese is absolutely fantastic. I love mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese is one of my favorite things in the entire world.
There was a mac and cheese restaurant, like a restaurant dedicated to mac and cheese in College Station, and I haven't found one near me in Austin yet. The only one that I found is on the other side of Austin, and I'm not driving all the way over there to get me some mac and cheese.
And there's one place where you have to try mac and cheese from if you've never had it before. UNT's Eagle Landing Dining Hall has the best. No, I'm not kidding. I know you're laughing. It has the best mac and cheese ever. You know who eats that mac and cheese? Who doesn't even like noodles? Our sister Casey. She does not like noodles, and she likes the mac and cheese at Eagle Landing. I don't know how that's even possible, but it is by far the best mac and cheese I've ever tasted. So if you
I honestly have heard good things about UNT's food, though.
UNT's food is amazing. If you ever get a chance to go to Eagle Landing, even just once, just go once. It is the best cafeteria dining hall you will ever go to. It is absolutely amazing.
I did not have that experience at college. I had the meal plan for one semester, and it was so bad, I never did it again. It was awful. Anyway, anything else to bring up here tonight? There is one more thing. But wait, one more
surprise announcement.
A new surprise announcement for the Starcastic faithful that remained throughout that terrible segment. We are releasing a Starcastic Remarks Discord server. where we can discuss all things Dallas Stars hockey, any other kind of hockey. And honestly, with the different channels, we can discuss whatever you want. Yours truly will be on those channels. We're going to have like a live chat going on sometime. James is probably going to be the main guy on the Discord. He does the Discords lots. We're going to be running that. So,
a big, huge shout out to Samantha, my girlfriend. She really set up most of it. She knows how to like run the bots on Discord as well. So we have some nice stuff going on over there.
Some pretty cool stuff, some pretty cool tags. If you haven't tried Discord, give it a shot. It's really fun. Easy way to talk to people live. It's really a great app too,
especially just if you want a place where you can just talk to people who are going to be in this community specifically. It will be nice to talk. You can talk about games. You can talk about how players are doing. I mean, you can give us suggestions on like we have a Who Cares segment channel where you can go and you can suggest a Who Cares segment if y'all think it's a good idea. And we have like other things if y'all want to see stuff on the show, if y'all want to make comments about the show. I mean, you can find it all there. We'll probably have sometimes where we'll go and we'll sit in a voice channel maybe while we watch a game. I might do that a couple of times. If y'all just want to hang out, watch the game together. I mean,
yep, hang out a little bit more than just this.
Hopefully, it'll be a nice place for people to just hang out among the community and not just be here while we're live.
Yep, fully agree. So be sure to check that out, especially on game days. I feel like that's going to be a lot of fun. I threw the link into our comments here. We're also going to post that on all of our social medias. Be sure to check it out there, and we'll get it up on our website here shortly. Ryan runs the website, so we have to wait for him to get back from state before we can post it up there. But I'm sure we'll get it up there in no time. So be sure to check that out. Thank you to our sponsors today, DraftKings and Raycon. Use promo code THPN on both of those places. You get a discount over at Raycon. And I think you get like a couple of free bets over at DraftKings right now, which is pretty sick. Lets them know that we sent you over there and gets you some free stuff. Help you, help me, help us all together at the same time. Mentioned a little bit before, go check out our website, starcatchermarks.com. Really good website, way better than it should be for how small of a thing we got going on here, but lots of cool stuff there. Be sure to bookmark that, check it often. And I think that'll just about do it for us. Game tomorrow night, right, James?
Yep. Game tomorrow night. I forget who we're playing. I think it's the Blue Jackets. I don't know.
Yeah, we're playing the Blue Jackets. We're playing the Blue Jackets tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow night with an AGR. There we go. So if you're listening to this in the morning or the evening, or maybe even the afternoon, we hope you have a good one of each of those. We will catch you guys on the flippity flop. James, take us out.
Go and join the Discord.
Boom.